Welcome back to News Talk. The Burgundy and Gold evened their record at 1-1 Sunday with a victory over the visiting St. Louis Rams. Matt Jones rushing for more than 120 yards with 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins, pretty amazing, 23 for 27 for more than 200 yards and a score. Tom Threlkeld, editor-in-chief of the DC Pro Sports Report, is here. To borrow a phrase from baseball, this was a complete game win for Jay Gruden and company.
Yes, it was. They did some of the good things that we saw in Week 1 against Miami, and really none of the bad things. The 2 interceptions that Kirk Cousins threw in Week 1, no sign of them this past week, yesterday, and no special teams meltdowns. And they made some moves there to ensure that, because they don't trust their special teams. They signed a new kicker. His job is to kick the ball out of the end zone so there are no long kick returns, and he did that.
3 rows deep. With one of the kicks was 3 rows into the stand.
That's right. He's got a heck of a leg. That's why they signed him. And the other one was they punted away from St. Louis's very good punt returner, Tavon Austin. They did everything they could to keep the ball out of his hands. They don't trust their special teams, and so they schemed around their special teams, and it worked at least for 1 week.
As the Giants are proving, you can play quite well for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters even, and walk away losers. Jay Gruden's got to be happy that he got 4 quarters. This was, I mean, the Rams are not the best team in the league. They may not be even in the top half, but he got a complete 4-quarter performance from his squad. He's got to feel good about not just the win, but how they went about getting it.
Yeah, there is some signs of growth here, and we can see how far the Skins have come since last year. It was just last year they lost 24-0 to the Rams at FedEx Field. Really, arguably the low point of the season, a disastrous game. They came back here, they dominated this game, apart from, say, 10 minutes in the third quarter. I would say 50 out of the 60 minutes of this game, Washington absolutely dominated. And we saw some things that were on the building blocks, on the plan of Scott McLuhan, the general manager, right from day one. He wanted to run the ball, be a big physical team, run the ball, and stop the other team from running it. And those are the moves he made in the offseason. He drafted Brandon Scherf with the first pick to bolster the offensive line. He drafted another running back, because if you're going to run the ball 37 times a game, you need more than one good running back. We saw Matt Jones come in for Alfred Morris yesterday and do very well. And you have to bolster the defensive line. And he brought in a gigantic human being in Terrence Knighton, who's about the size of the both of us combined, and that's not a joke. And he's also brought in Stephen Paya and Ricky Jean-Francois. So he strengthened both lines of scrimmage to build the kind of tough, physical team that he built in San Francisco that went to 3 straight NFC Championship games when it was coached by Jim Harbaugh.
What did you see from Kirk Cousins, aside from some outstanding numbers?
Yeah, look, Kirk Cousins was asked yesterday not to lose the game and to make a few plays when he had to, and that's what he did. The real standout play, I thought, came in the fourth quarter on the decisive 12-play, 77-yard drive that clinched the game. There were a couple of plays on 3rd and 8 from their own 25-yard line. He hit a third down back, Chris Thompson, for a 10-yard gain to keep the drive going. But the big one was on 3rd down and 5 at their own 40-yard line. Now, this is where quarterbacks earn their money in the National Football League. 3rd down, 4th quarter, a passing situation, and you're trying to clinch a game. He drops back in the shotgun. He fires a dart to tight end Jordan Reed over the middle. Reed catches the ball, heads straight upfield. It's a 29-yard gain to the Rams' 31-yard line. A play later, there's a face mask penalty, and Washington's at the 15-yard line, and basically just trying to run the clock out and kick a field goal at that point, although they got a touchdown because Matt Jones didn't want the kicker on the field for a field goal.
Short turnaround as Washington takes on the Giants in New York, Thursday Night Football. I don't think either of us are big fans of Thursday night games.
Not good games.
Not that of course being irrelevant, right. Because they're doing them, they're playing. Yep. How much momentum do they carry into a game against a team that has had some success?
Yeah, look, this is the blueprint for how Washington wants to play. The question is whether or not they'll be able to impose their will on New York the way they did in St. Louis. Now, it was almost exactly a year ago, September 25th, 2014, on a Thursday night nationally televised game. Washington played the Giants, and Kirk Cousins famously melted down through 4 interceptions, and it was a rout, 45-14. The season went down from there. What we need to see for Washington is more running the ball early. And what you saw there, like on that 39-yard touchdown run by Matt Jones in the first quarter, they ran the ball on 2nd and 12. That's a passing down in the NFL. Washington is running the ball 56% of the time through these first 2 games. That's what they want to do. The Giants know it. They will. The whole league knows it by now. And the Giants will come in 0-2, desperate for a win. To go down 0-3 with a loss on national TV in their own building is a disaster. So Washington is going to get a desperate New York team. They need to bring the same kind of energy they had yesterday.
How much does the injury to Tony Romo, who will be out a couple of months now,
at least 8 weeks,
compounding the injury to Des Bryant, how much does that reshape the division?
A lot, I suspect. Now, look, Brandon Weeden, the backup quarterback in Dallas, could surprise us, but I think he's won 5 out of like 26 games as a starter. He only started 1 game last year and he lost it. He had Des Bryant for that game. Right now, the Cowboys are without their 3 big playmakers on offense from last year. DeMarco Murray, who's now doing nothing in Philadelphia, and then Romo and Des Bryant, as you said.
It's amazing.
So, yeah, they're going to need to win games defensively, and we'll probably see a toned-down game plan from them. But that has reshaped the race. The team that is 2-0 actually looks quite vulnerable. For once, Washington isn't team turmoil in the NFC East.
Is it wide open?
Absolutely, it's wide open. The Eagles have not come out and played the way they were thought to. 6 of the 8 quarters they have played on offense this year so far have been dismal. And yesterday, Chip Kelly admitted that this was absolutely not what they expected after the game. Usually he gives non-answers, but he was sort of brutally frank that the team isn't playing well. They're not blocking. You can blame DeMarco Murray and their running backs. But the fact is those guys are getting tackled in the backfield because the interior of Philadelphia's offensive line is a total wreck right now.
Let's shift gears, talk about the Nationals, who are statistically, mathematically alive, but I don't know a single, of all the friends and Facebook people I know who, were so into it. We had that 5 minutes where it felt like the pennant chase was on in earnest and we were going to have meaningful.
And the Mets came to town and shut that down.
Yeah, so it's over.
Yeah.
But the talk in recent days has been about Matt Williams, about whether he comes back, and about a recent report from a journalist or commentator thought to have ties to Scott Boras. Whether or not Matt Williams comes back next year. And I guess the thinking is a more likely than not chance that he will not.
Yeah, look, there's for at least a month now, there's been a fair amount of discontent since since the team really went into a swan dive and the bullpen was incapable of getting outs, falling apart repeatedly in the 7th inning. There's been a lot of criticism of Matt Williams' handling of the bullpen. Now, just to say a word in his defense, the bullpen looked like a problem at the beginning of the season. And that's not Matt Williams' job. That's Mike Rizzo, the GM's job. He has to give Matt Williams or any manager the tools they can to succeed. And I think that, when you looked at the Nats to start this season, they looked strong in all these places, but they looked weak at the bullpen, and that turned out to be accurate. Williams has made mistakes, but I think Rizzo has to share his shoulder of the blame as well. He stuck with his plan. He was loath to change it. And when he did change it, bringing in Papelbon and moving Storen into the 8th inning, things only got worse. And again, that's not on Williams, that's on Rizzo. I think there's plenty of blame to spread around.
Having read the Tom Boswell piece from a few days ago, is it possible as we get into the off season and reflect on what happened? No question, a historic disappointment.
Yeah.
So many people had the Nats going all the way. They're not even going to make the playoffs, even though they were in a weak division. Is it possible that people will look back and say, you know what, with the number of injuries they had, he did a pretty good job keeping them relevant most of the year?
It's possible. I wouldn't say that, at least right now, because I think other teams have had just as bad injuries or worse who will make the playoffs. They got a great season from Bryce Harper. This is the year that Bryce Harper announced to the world that he is very arguably the best baseball player in the world. And their job from now on is to get enough talent around Harper to win championships, to make sure he stays in town when his contract is up, because he's going to be getting big offers from other places. They will have the resources to do it. They should be able to do it. I think if the Nats finish strong, even if they don't make the playoffs, as they almost certainly will not, it could save Williams' job, but he would only be saving it for 2016 when it is boom or bust.
Tom Threlkeld of the DC Pro Sports Report. Always great having you with us.
My pleasure.
Thanks very much for your time. Back with a program note after this.